The original Kodak camera, released at the end of the 1880s, was sold on a very simple promise. You take the picture, we'll do the rest. Basically, when you bought the camera, it came preloaded with a film which would take 100 photographs. At the end of the roll, instead of taking the film out, you send the whole unit back to Kodak. They would process the film, they would reload it, they would send you the camera and your prints back. Brilliant, simple idea, but at a cost. A roll of film and 100 prints would be about $25. In today's money, that would be somewhere between $700 and $800. So photography with the original Kodak was very much a rich person's game. This changed at the end of the 19th century, and when the Kodak Brownie was produced, things were a lot cheaper because you could take the film out yourself. This is the Kodak Brownie number 2. This was made from about the beginning of the 20th century, about 1902 through to the 1930s. This is a very late model, probably produced about 1932, 1934. And I know that because in 1932 this wind-on was changed. On this camera I can take the front off to reveal the lens and shutter mechanism underneath. The shutter is this very simple spring-loaded slot system which later appeared in the 127. So if I just fire the shutter, then fire the shutter again, this time the other way around, you can see perhaps that there's a hole around here and this slot passes backwards and forwards. The shutter speed is, like the 127, about a 50th of a second. I can show that a little bit easier if I move this lever up here. This allows me to take timed photographs, not bulb, not B, because there is no mechanism for a flash on this, and it's not auto release. So when I push this down, it exposes the lens, and the lens is behind the shutter, and then I release it to close the lens. So my first control is the time of the shutter. I can either have it at a 50th of a second or open for as long as I like. The second control, and the only other control on the camera, is the size of the aperture. The aperture is controlled by this sliding lever here. At the moment, with the large hole, is f11. This hole is f16, and this hole is f22. So think of it, really bright day, patchy cloud, overcast. And with the latitude of black and white films, you probably can't go far wrong with that. On this particular camera, the locking mechanism for the back is slightly damaged, so I've got to be very careful with it. So this hinges down, and inside the camera you can see the lens which is behind the shutter. To change the roll of film, I actually employ this winding knob, and I pull it out, and that allows me to remove the central insert of the camera. Let's move that out of the way. So this camera takes number 2 Brownie film. To load the film, I put my roll of film at the top, and I feed the paper very carefully through to the bottom and I feed it into this slot on the receiving roll. When I finish the film, I end up with a full roll on this side and an empty roll on this side, so that I have to change the roll over from this side to this side. It's quite simple to see which way it goes back into the camera because it's usefully marked top here. After saying that, it can be a very snug fit. Like that, and then I wind the film on until I get a number 1 in this window. I take my shot and then I wind it on to number 2. It's very simple. So, Kodak Brownie number 2. Variable aperture, shutter speed of 1/50th and T, bright level finder, and very simple wind on. The only thing that I would say that baffles a lot of modern photographers is that this viewfinder is meant to be used at waist level. If you hold it up to your eye, you're not going to get a very good image. You need to hold it away from your body and you will get a laterally inverted image, like a mirror image. If you do that and hold the camera steady, don't breathe when you take the picture, then it will still serve you very well. This is a 1930s version, but the 1900s versions will work just as well, and incredible simplicity. The Kodak Brownie number 2.